The boardroom thundered with the echo of his voice, sharp as shattered glass. Alexander Thorne slammed his fist on the mahogany table, eyes like Arctic blades slicing through the executives who dare to flinch. "You're all replaceable," he snarled, his words a venomous promise. "And if you can't deliver, I'll bury you myself." In that frozen moment, as the room held its collective breath, Alex felt nothing, not remorse, not doubt, just the cold thrill of absolute power. It was the armor he'd forged at 22, when he'd clawed his way from a cramped Brooklyn apartment to the penthouse throne of Thorne Enterprises, a tech conglomerate devouring startups like a predator in the neon jungle of Manhattan. Ruthless? They called him that in whispers, in headlines, in the fearful emails that piled up like offerings at his feet. But control was his god, his salvation, the iron cage that kept the chaos of his hidden truths locked away. He was 35 now, a man sculpted from ambition and isolation, his days a blur of mergers and midnight emails, his nights haunted by the ghosts of desires he dared not name. Gay in a world that demanded perfection, he'd built walls higher than his skyscraper headquarters, dating models and executives in calculated facades that fooled the tabloids and his iron-fisted board. But fate, that cruel jester, had other plans. It started with a glitch, a minor one, or so it seemed, in the company's latest app rollout. Alex stormed into the creative agency's Midtown office that afternoon, his polished loafers clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. The agency was a hive of chaos compared to his sterile empire, walls splashed with graffiti art, desks cluttered with sketches and half-empty coffee mugs, the air humming with indie rock and laughter that felt foreign to his bones. He demanded the lead designer, his assistant trailing like a shadow. But when the door to the corner office swung open, it wasn't some faceless suit who greeted him. It was Jamie Reed, 28, with hair the color of autumn, leaves tousled, just enough to suggest he ran his hands through it when ideas struck like lightning. His hazel eyes met Alex's without flinching, a spark of quiet fire in them that made the CEO's pulse stutter for the first time in years. Jamie wore a simple gray Henley that hugged his lean frame, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with faint freckles and a tattoo of a compass rose, pointing nowhere, or everywhere. Slim jeans and scuffed boots completed the look, practical for late nights, hunched over a tablet, sketching logos that breathed life into brands. "Mr. Thorne," Jamie said, extending a hand that was warm and steady, callous from stylish grips and the occasional guitar string. "I'm Jamie. Let's fix this." Alex shook it, feeling the jolt like static electricity, and pulled away too quickly. "Fix it? Your team's delay cost me 7 figures today." His voice was steel, but inside, something cracked, a hairline fracture in the facade. Jamie didn't cower. He nodded, those eyes holding Alex's with an intensity that stripped away the boardroom bluster. "I get it. Money talks. But art doesn't rush. Sit. I'll show you why it's worth the wait." They sat, knees almost brushing under the glass table, and Jamie pulled up the revised designs on his screen. Pixels danced into visions, sleek interfaces that pulsed with human warmth, not the cold efficiency Alex enforced. As Jamie explained, his voice low and passionate, gesturing with hands that moved like they were conducting a symphony, Alex found himself leaning in. The glitch wasn't sloppiness. It was Jamie's insistence on embedding empathy into code, features for users with disabilities. Subtle nods to inclusivity that Alex's profit-driven metrics had overlooked. See here, Jamie pointed, his finger brushing Alex's accidentally, sending heat racing up the CEO's arm. It's not just functional. It's kind. The word lodged in Alex's throat like a forbidden fruit. He hadn't heard it aimed at him since his mother died a decade ago, leaving him to navigate a father's disapproval and a brother's shadow. In the cutthroat arena of Silicon Alley, kindness was a weakness, a chink in the armor. Yet here was this man, openly gay, from the rainbow pin on his messenger bag, from the easy way he referenced a weekend at a Pride afterparty, wielding it like a weapon. Alex's gaze lingered on Jamie's lips, full and curved in mid-sentence, and he forced it back to the screen. Implemented by dawn, he barked, standing abruptly. Or we're done. Jamie rose too. Closer now. The scent of him, clean soap and faint citrus, invading Alex's space. We'll deliver. But maybe next time, lead with coffee instead of threats. It opens doors better. A grin, lopsided and genuine. That hit Alex like a gut punch. That night, alone in his Tribeca loft with its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering skyline, Alex poured a scotch and stared at the city that bowed to him. But his mind replayed Jamie's grin, the brush of skin, the audacity of compassion. He opened his laptop, telling himself it was research, and searched Jamie Reed. Profiles popped up, freelance gigs for core nonprofits, sketches shared on Instagram of intertwined hands in vibrant colors, captions about loving fiercely in a world that often turned away. Alex's finger hovered over the follow button, heart hammering. He closed the tab. Control, he reminded himself. Always control. But the fracture widened the next morning when Jamie's team delivered early, flawless, innovative, a hit with beta testers. Alex's self, Victoria Hale, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who'd been with him since the startup days, raised an eyebrow during the review. This Reed guy's a gem. Keep him on retainer. Alex nodded curtly, but inside, a war raged. Retainer meant proximity, meant risk. His board was sniffing around rumors, whispers of his eccentricities from a careless intern years ago, and the last thing he needed was a spark to ignite the powder keg. The retainer meeting was at a rooftop bar in Soho, neutral ground under a canopy of string lights as the sun dipped low. Alex arrived in a navy suit, tie loosened just enough to feign relaxation, but his body was coiled tight. Jamie was already there, nursing a gin and tonic, chatting with a colleague. He spotted Alex and waved him over. That easy smile disarming. You clean up nice when you're not storming offices. Flattery won't secure the contract, Alex replied, sliding into the seat, signaling for whiskey. But his eyes betrayed him, tracing the way Jamie's shirt stretched across his shoulders. They talked business-first budgets, timelines, but it veered, as conversations do with him, to the edges. Jamie asked about the man behind the empire, and Alex, guards slipping with the second drink, shared fragments, the Brooklyn roots, the drive born from loss. Control keeps the monsters at bay, he admitted, voice rough. Jamie's gaze softened, hand resting on the table inches from Alex's. Or it starves you. The air thickened, charged, and when their fingers brushed, reaching for the same coaster, neither pulled away. Time stretched, the city noise fading to a hum. Alex's breath caught as Jamie's thumb grazed his knuckle. A question, not a demand. "I can't," Alex whispered, the words tasting like ash, yanking back as if burned. He fled the bar, heart pounding, the taste of possibility sour on his tongue. Weeks blurred into a dangerous rhythm. Jamie's designs fueled Thorne's next app, a social platform hailed as revolutionary. But the real revolution brewed in stolen moments. Coffee runs where Jamie's laugh cracked Alex's resolve. Late night calls disguised as feedback sessions that lingered on personal confessions. Alex learned Jamie's scars. A conservative family in Ohio who disowned him at 20. The ex who'd cheated with lies. The quiet strength in rebuilding alone in the city that never sleeps. Jamie learned Alex's edges. The board's pressure to marry for optics. The annual gala where he'd pose with arm candy while his soul screamed for authenticity. One rain-soaked evening, after a brutal negotiation left Alex hollow, he found himself at Jamie's Brooklyn walk-up, uninvited but compelled. The door opened to Jamie in sweatpants and a faded band tee, hair damp from a shower, surprise melting into concern. "Alex, what's wrong?" "Everything." "Nothing." "I needed air." A lie. But Jamie stepped aside, offering a beer and a worn leather couch cluttered with sketch pads. They sat close, the patter of rain a veil, and words tumbled out, Alex's fears, the closet's chokehold, the empire built on denial. Jamie listened, then cupped Alex's face, thumb tracing his jaw. "You're not your walls, Alex. You're the man who sees me, who fights for what's right, even when it scares you." Their lips met then, tentative at first, then fierce, a dam breaking after years of drought. Alex poured into it his hunger, his terror, hands fisting Jamie's shirt as if anchoring to reality. Jamie responded with a tenderness that unraveled him, bodies pressing until they tumbled to the rug, clothes shed like old skins. It was raw, reverent, Jamie's mouth mapping scars Alex had under suits, Alex's fingers learning the curve of Jamie's spine. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets that smelled of home, Alex whispered, "This could ruin me." Jamie traced circles on his chest. "Or save you." But salvation came laced with thorns. Victoria cornered Alex the next day, her voice a whip in his office. "The board's calling an emergency vote. Rumors about you and that designer. Photos from the bar. Blurry but damning. Marry Elena Voss by quarter's end, or they oust you." Elena, the heiress from a rival firm. A business alliance wrapped in white lace. Alex's stomach twisted. "It's leverage. Vic." "They'll back off." She shook her head, eyes pitying. "Deny it, or lose everything." He denied it publicly that night at a press event, arm around Elena's waist, her smile plastic as his. But his eyes sought Jamie in the crowd, where he stood frozen, hurt etching lines on his face. Later, in the shadows of Central Park, Jamie confronted him, rain mingling with tears. Was it real, or just another merger? "Real," Alex choked, pulling him close despite the flashes from paparazzi tales. "But they own me, then fight." Jamie's voice broke, hands fisting Alex's lapels. "Or lose us both." The boardroom showdown loomed like a guillotine. Alex spent nights in Jamie's arms, days plotting escape, leaks to allies, contingency funds siphoned for a new venture rooted in ethics, not exploitation. Tension coiled tighter. Anonymous threats scrawled on his car. Jamie's apartment vandalized with slurs that cut deeper than any deal gone sour. One night, as they lay spent and whispering futures, a knock shattered the peace. It was Marcus, Alex's estranged brother, eyes wild with desperation. "Dad's dying. He wants you, forgiveness. The whole show. But he knows, Alex, about you." The revelation cracked open old wounds. Their father, the steel magnate who disowned Alex's mother for her weakness, now frail in a Connecticut hospice, summoning the son he'd called a disappointment. Alex drove through the storm, Jamie insisting on coming, their hands clasped over the gear shift. The room smelled of antiseptic and regret. The old man a shadow on starched sheets. "I was wrong," he rasped, voice a gravel whisper. "Built walls to protect. But they trapped us all." Tears burned Alex's eyes, first time in memory. "You trapped me." Forgiveness didn't come easy, but in Jamie's steady presence, it bloomed. A fragile truce before the patriarch slipped away at dawn. Empowered or unmoored, Alex faced the board that week. Victoria at his side, Jamie's compass tattoo etched in his mind. "I'm stepping down as CEO," he announced, voice steady as thunder. "Thorn Enterprises will transition to a worker-owned model, fair wages, inclusive policies. And yes, the rumors are true. I'm gay, and I'm in love. Hide that if you want, but you'll lose the man who made this company." Gasps rippled, but Victoria's nod sealed alliances. Shares dipped, then surged on the ethics wave. Headlines screamed scandal, then celebrated reinvention. Alex walked out into sunlight, Jamie waiting by the fountain, grin brighter than the skyline. In the quiet of their shared loft months later, as cherry blossoms dusted the park below, Alex traced Jamie's jaw. "You betrayed my control." Jamie laughed, pulling him down. "And you rebuilt better. Love, it turned out, wasn't betrayal. It was the blueprint for a life unchained." The ink on the transition papers was barely dry when the Real storm hit, not from boardroom vipers, but from the underbelly of Alex's past. He'd always known the shadows lurked, fragments of his youth when vulnerability meant survival's edge. At 18, fresh from high school in a Brooklyn tenement, he'd trusted the wrong crowd, street-smart hustlers who saw his ambition as currency. One night, a deal gone sour left him beaten in an alley. Ribs cracked, secrets spilled to a blackmailer who'd vanished with a Polaroid and a promise of ruin. Alex had buried it deep, paying hush money until the trail went cold. But power attracts ghosts. It resurfaced now, an email from an anonymous sender. "Remember Tommy Ruiz? He does. $5 million. Or the world sees the boy you were." Attached, a scanned photo, faded but damning, young Alex, bruised lips parted in fear, arm around a rough-edged teen in a dimly lit club. Tommy, the first man who'd made his heart race, then shattered it with betrayal. Alex's hands shook as he deleted it, but sleep evaded him that night in the loft. Jamie stirred beside him, sensing the tension in the sheets. "Talk to me," he murmured, voice husky from dreams. "Old debts," Alex replied, evading, but Jamie's hand on his chest pinned him. "We're in this." All of it, reluctantly, Alex confessed over dawn coffee, the city waking in gold hues. Jamie's face hardened not with judgment, but resolve. We hire a PI. In this, the investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Lena, dug fast. Tommy Ruiz had clawed his way up too, now a mid-level exec at a rival firm, bitter over Alex's rise, nursing grudges in dive bars. But the email trail led darker. Tommy in cahoots with Harlan Crow, a venture capitalist snake who'd vied for Thornboard's seat and lost. Harlan, with his silver tongue and predatory eyes, saw Alex's coming out as opportunity, topple the reformed king, install himself as savior. Confrontation brewed. Alex met Harlan at a gala in the Hamptons. Chandeliers dripping light over tuxedos and gowns. Elena Voss on his arm for old time's sake. Her knowing smile a truce. Harlan cornered him by the terrace. Cigar smoke curling like accusations. Bold move. Thorn. Love over legacy? Quaint. But that photo. Oh, the sympathy it could garner. Or destroy. Alex's blood iced. Blackmail's beneath even you. Harlan chuckled. Low and oily. Power's a game. You taught me that. Jamie, who'd insisted on tagging along in a sharp blazer that hugged his frame, appeared then, slipping an arm around Alex's waist, a public claim that silenced whispers. Game's over, Jamie said, voice calm but edged. We have emails, the accounts. Feds are interested in wire fraud. Harlan blanched, cigar dropping ash. Lena's work had been thorough, traced payments, forged docs. The capitalist slunk away, but not before hissing. You'll regret this softness. Regret? Alex felt none as he and Jamie danced under stars, bodies sinking in a rhythm that drowned the noise. But the threat lingered, manifesting in slashed tires, anonymous calls that breathed Jamie's name like a curse. Fear crept in, a thief in their paradise. One night, after a brick through Jamie's studio window shattered a priceless canvas, Alex snapped. This is my fault. You should go. Jamie's eyes blazed, grabbing his collar. Run? That's your play? No. We face it together. Their argument ignited into passion, furious kisses against the wall, hands clawing as if to merge souls, bodies colliding in a storm of need and defiance. Afterward, slick with sweat, Jamie whispered, "Love isn't safe, but it's worth the bruises." United, they struck back. Alex leaked the evidence to a trusted journalist, a queer ally at the Atlantic, framing it as corporate corruption exposed. Headlines exploded. Tech titans triumph over blackmail, a lesson in integrity. Harlan resigned in disgrace. Tommy flipped for immunity, spilling on a network of old boy sleaze. Thorn Enterprises soared, donations pouring to LGBTQ plus causes. Alex's story a beacon. Yet victory tasted bittersweet. Jamie's ex, Dylan, a charming photographer with a venomous streak, resurfaced, using the chaos for clicks. Social media lit up with Dylan's tell-all, accusations of Jamie's instability, twisted tales to undermine their bond. Paparazzi swarmed, turning walks in the park into gauntlets. Alex shielded Jamie, but the toll showed, dark circles under hazel eyes, sketches abandoned for sleepless nights. One evening, as autumn leaves carpeted Washington Square, Jamie broke. "I can't breathe. Alex. The world's watching, waiting for us to crack." Alex pulled him into a shadowed bench. Rain threatening. Then let's give them a show worth watching. He dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but a promise, a custom sketch Jamie had drawn months ago, their hands intertwined under a rainbow skyline. Marry me. Not for them. For us. Build a life where love wins. Tears mixed with rain on Jamie's face. His yes a sob of release. They kissed through the downpour, world fading to their pulse. Wedding planning became rebellion, a small ceremony in Fire Island. Guess a mix of allies and artists. No tycoons in sight. Vows exchanged on the beach. Waves crashing like applause. Alex's suit rumpled by sand. Jamie's linen shirt open to the breeze. I vow to let go, Alex said, voice cracking. To choose you over control every dawn. And I vow to hold you through the storms, Jamie replied, eyes shining. But life, ever the dramatist, tested them anew. Months in, with rings glinting and a joint design firm thriving. Alex's health faltered, stress manifesting as chest pains during a pitch. Hospital lights buzzed harsh. Jamie's hand vice tight. A panic attack, the doctor said, from holding too much too long. It was a wake-up. Alex sold his majority stake, channeling funds into a foundation for queer youth entrepreneurship. Jamie's art bloomed, murals of resilience adorning city walls. They adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy, mutt-named Rebel, filling their home with chaos and joy. Years layered like patina on their story. At 40, Alex mentored startups with the warmth he'd once hoarded, gray threading his hair like wisdom silver. Jamie, at 33, published a graphic novel of their tale, veiled but true, a bestseller that sparked conversations in boardrooms and bedrooms. One crisp October eve, back in that Brooklyn walk-up, now there's... Alex found Jamie sketching by candlelight. Still ruthless? Jamie teased, pulling him close. Alex smiled, heart full. Only in loving you. In the end, the empire fell, but the heart rose, uncontrolled, unbreakable. Whispers of doubt lingered long after the wedding, like fog off the Hudson that refused to burn off. Alex had always been a strategist, mapping mergers like chess masters, but love defied grids. It bloomed in quiet rebellions, weekend getaways to the Catskills, where they'd hike trails hand in hand. Jamie's laughter echoing off pines as Alex admitted fears he'd armored against. What if I fail you? He'd murmur into Jamie's neck by the fire, embers mirroring the warmth seeping into his bones. You won't, Jamie would reply, fingers weaving through Alex's, because failing means trying. And we try every day. The foundation, Thornreed Initiative, became their canvas. Alex poured resources into grants for LGBTQ plus creators, watching Jamie mentor wide-eyed kids in workshops, his passion a contagion. One protege, a trans teen named Riley with sketches that bled raw emotion, reminded Alex of his own hidden youth. You give us permission to dream, Riley said, hugging him fiercely after a funding reveal. But dreams invited envy. Enter Victor Lang, a former Thorn VP ousted in the restructure, now a podcaster peddling exposés on fallen titans. Victor's episodes dissected Alex's fall from grace, twisting redemption into hypocrisy, interviewing disgruntled exes with venomous glee. When he targeted Jamie, airing doctored clips of Dylan's rants, implying infidelity, Alex's control snapped. He stormed Victor's studio in Chelsea, security in tow, But Jamie barred his path. Don't give him the villain he wants. Instead, they countered with authenticity, a live stream from the Foundation. Alex raw and open. I've hurt people in pursuit of power, he confessed. Jamie's hand visible off camera. Grounding. But love taught me repair. Join us. Or step aside. Views skyrocketed. Donations doubled. Victor's audience trickled away. It was Kismet's gift. But karma's prize followed. Jamie's family, those Ohio ghosts, reached out a sister's email. Tentative olive branch after the wedding photos went viral. We were wrong. Can we meet? Jamie hesitated, old wounds festering. Alex drove him to a neutral diner in Jersey, waiting in the car as Jamie faced his parents across vinyl booths. Hours later, Jamie emerged, face streaked, but lighter. Forgiveness isn't absolution, he said, sliding in, but it's space to breathe. Alex kissed his temple. Proud of you. Their bond deepened and intimacies forged. Nights blurred into explorations, slow dances in the kitchen to jazz records. Jamie's body arching under Alex's touch like a melody composed for them alone. You're my anchor, Alex gasped once, after they'd loved with the urgency of survivors. Sheets twisted, breaths mingling. Jamie's reply, whispered against sweat-damp skin, and you're my storm, wild, but home, yet storms brewed external. A class action suit from Thorne's pre-reform days resurfaced, workers alleging discrimination, ties to Harlan's network. Lawyers swarmed, depositions dragging like chains. Alex testified for days, voice steady recounting the toxic culture he'd enabled. I was blind, he admitted under oath. But seeing now means making right. Settlements flowed, reforms embedded, but the toll etched lines on his face. Jamie noticed, pulling strings for a retreat, a cabin in the Adirondacks. No signals, just them and Rebel chasing squirrels. There, under star-pricked skies, they renewed vows informally, words etched in a shared journal. To the man who taught me vulnerability is strength, Jamie wrote, handing it over. Alex added, to the artist who painted color into my gray. Back in the city, reinvigorated, they launched a gala for the Foundation, Metropolitan Museum, under a Warhol glow. Alex in a velvet tux, Jamie in emerald silk that caught light like his eyes. Speeches flowed, toasts raised, but midway, a figure approached, Elena Voss, radiant in red, glass in hand. Heard about the suit. Need a shark? Her firm specialized in corporate redemption. Gratitude swelled. Always, Alex said, clinking glasses. Elena's wink to Jamie sealed an alliance, fierce women building bridges. The night peaked in a private alcove, where Alex pulled Jamie into shadows, lips claiming in a kiss that tasted of champagne and forever. Every risk worth it, he murmured. But forever tested limits. At 38, Alex collapsed during a run in Prospect Park, heart arrhythmia. Doc said, from years of adrenaline spikes. ICU beeps haunted Jamie's vigil, hand never leaving Alex's. Don't you dare leave, he pleaded, voice breaking. Alex woke to that face, love's fierce guardian. Recovery was grueling, pills, therapy, walks paced slow. Jamie adapted seamlessly, designing adaptive tech for the Foundation, turning pain to purpose. We're unbreakable, he'd say, massaging Alex's chest during quiet evenings. A year on, they fostered their first kid, Leo, a 14-year-old runaway with a sketchbook full of superheroes. Chaos reigned, pizza burns, late-night talks on identity, but joy rooted deep. Leo's first Pride March. Rainbow flag high. Alex and Jamie flanking. Felt like legacy incarnate. Victory stacked. Victor's podcast folded. Elena's team quashed the suit. The foundation expanded nationwide. Murals by Jamie dotting skylines. Alex's keynotes igniting boardrooms with humanism. One dawn, as Rebel snored and Leo dreamed upstairs, Alex watched Jamie sleep, chest rising steady. The ruthless CEO was myth now, replaced by a man who chose heart over throne. Betrayal? No, revelation. Echoes of the past faded, but memories tied brought new currents. Leo's arrival reshaped their world, a whirlwind of teenage rebellion and tender revelations. At 15 now, he navigated school hallways laced with slurs, confiding in Jamie over late-night hot cocoa about crushes that confused and thrilled. Alex listened too, offering stories from his closet days, not as cautionary tales, but maps to self-acceptance. I hid, he'd say, arm around the boy's shoulders. But you don't have to. We're your safety net. Jamie beamed, pride swelling as Leo's art, vibrant comics of queer heroes, hung in local galleries. But fostering open scars, home visits from social workers, probing questions on stability. One evening, after a tense evaluation, Jamie paced the loft. What if they think we're not enough? Two dads, reformed tycoon and starving artist. Alex drew him close, foreheads touching. We're more than enough. Look at him, thriving because of us. Their kiss grounded, slow and affirming. Bodies aligning in the kitchen's soft light. A reminder that love's foundation held firm. Public life amplified scrutiny. Alex's memoir, Unchained Empire, hit shelves like a thunderclap, bestseller lists. Oprah interviews where he teared up recounting Jamie's role. He didn't save me, Alex said on camera. Jamie offset, squeezing his hand. He showed me I was worth saving. Backlash brewed from conservative corners. Boycotts called, but supporters flooded in, letters from closeted execs. Donations spiking. Jamie's graphic novel sequel delved deeper. Fictionalized betrayals mirroring their blackmail saga. Launch party at a queer bookstore in the village buzzed with fans. But Dylan crashed it, drunk and desperate for relevance. You stole my story, he slurred, lunging at Jamie. Alex stepped in, voice low thunder. Leave, or security does. Dylan sneered. But Elena, now a Foundation board member, whisked him out, legal threats dangling. Later, in the alley's cool air, Jamie trembled against Alex. It still hurts. Alex held him tighter. Let it. Then let it go. They walked home arm in arm, Rebel bounding ahead, the city their ally. Expansion called, a Foundation branch in San Francisco. Tech hub for inclusive apps. Alex and Jamie relocated temporarily, subletting the loft to Riley, now a rising star. Golden Gate views framed their days, brainstorm sessions in cafes. Evenings on ferries where Jamie sketched the bay's curve. Alex's head on his shoulder. This is living, Alex murmured, wind whipping. But distance strained Leo. Video calls laced with homesickness. Miss you guys, he'd say, voice cracking. They flew back monthly. But a school crisis, bullies targeting his orientation, erupted. Social services hovered, threatening removal. Panic clawed Alex. He'd fought empires. But this vulnerability terrified. Jamie flew solo first, de-escalating with counselors. His comma bomb. We're family, he advocated, showing Leo's progress folders. Alex joined for the hearing. Suit traded for a sweater, testifying with raw honesty. We built this home from broken pieces. Don't shatter it. The judge ruled in their favor. Adoption papers fast-tracked. Leo's hug at the courthouse, fierce and tearful, sealed it. Dads, he whispered, the word of victory sweeter than any deal. Homecoming was ritual. Barbecue in the park with Victoria, Lena, Elena, a chosen tribe. Laughter flowed. Stories swapped. Rebels stealing burgers. As dusk fell, Alex pulled Jamie aside, under willow branches. You make heroes of us all. Jamie's eyes sparkled. We make each other. Intimacy evolved too, less frantic, more profound. Mornings tangled in sunlight, exploring with the leisure of security. Jamie's moans a symphony Alex conducted with reverence. Forever, Alex breathed, cresting together, bodies a testament to endurance. Challenges persisted. Economic dips hit the foundation. Grants cut. Alex dipped into savings. Jamie freelanced relentlessly, exhaustion etching them. One night, after a denied proposal, Jamie snapped. Maybe we're spread too thin. Prioritize. Alex's defensiveness flared, old control rearing. This is our legacy. Words escalated. Doors slammed. Leo retreating to his room. Silence stretched. Regret bitter. Alex found Jamie on the fire escape, staring at stars. I'm scared, Jamie admitted, of losing us to the fight. Alex knelt. Vulnerability bared. Then we pivot. Smaller, deeper impact. They realigned, focusing on mentorship pods, personal connections over scale. Relief washed. Their makeup a tender reclaiming. Slow caresses rebuilding trust. A milestone glowed. Leo's high school graduation. Cap tassels swinging as he strode stage, dedicating his speech to the dads who taught me courage. Cheers erupted. Alex's throat tight. Jamie filming through tears. Post-ceremony. At a rooftop party, Leo introduced his boyfriend, Shy. Sweet. A budding coder. Alex clapped his back. Treat him right, or answer to us. Laughter sealed the night. But later, alone, Alex reflected. From ruthless isolation to this tapestry of love, family forged. Not born. Betrayal had been the heart's bold whisper, urging toward light. Time's gentle erosion polished their edges, turning raw passion into a steady flame. At 42, Alex's hair silvered at temples, a distinguished map of battles won. Jamie, 36, bore laugh lines that crinkled his hazel eyes. His art bolder, strokes freer. Leo, 18, off to RISD with a full ride from the foundation. Left echoes in empty rooms, sketches on fridge, sneakers by door. Proud tears, Jamie said during drop-off, hugging their son tight. Called daily. Empty nest beckoned reinvention. They traveled, Paris cafes where Jamie sketched Eiffel silhouettes. Alex reciting bad French to amuse. Tokyo nights in izakayas. hands linked under lanterns. "Adventure suits you," Jamie teased, pulling Alex into a ryokan bath, steam curling as they soaked, bodies rediscovering in heated waters. Back home, the loft felt vast, so they downsized to a brownstone in Harlem. Walls alive with Jamie's murals, vines of intertwined figures climbing toward rainbows. The foundation thrived under Riley's leadership. Alex consulting part-time, Jamie teaching masterclasses. Victoria retired to Florida. Elena ascended to CEO of a green tech firm, their circle enduring. A shadow fell unexpectedly, Jamie's diagnosis. Routine check uncovering early prostate issues. Treatable, the oncologist assured, but fear's grip tightened. Alex canceled the keynote, hovering through scans and surgeries, holding Jamie's hand in sterile halls. "Not losing you," he vowed, voice fierce. Recovery was Jamie's canvas, sketches from hospital beds, defiant colors against white sheets. "Cancer tried to control me," he joked weakly, "but I'm the boss." Alex's care was meticulous, bone broths, midnight massages, words of affirmation whispered like prayers. Their intimacy paused, then resumed gentler, kisses tracing scars, affirming wholeness. Support rallied. Leo flew home. Leo's boyfriend cooking meals. Riley organized a benefit art auction. Proceeds funding queer health initiatives. "You're our warrior," she told Jamie, hugging fierce. Months later, clear scans rang like bells. Celebration was intimate. Rooftop dinner. City sprawl below. Champagne toasts. "To survivorship," Alex said, clinking glasses, eyes locked. Later, in bed, their lovemaking was worship, slow, sacred. Jamie atop, guiding with gasps that built a shared release. "Alive," he breathed, collapsing into Alex's arms. "With you." Growth followed. Jamie channeled experience into a series, Bodies Unbroken, illustrations of resilience that toured galleries, sparking dialogues on health equity. Alex co-authored policy briefs, lobbying for inclusive care. Leo's first exhibit overlapped, family pride swelling. Yet personal tides turned. Alex, reflecting on his father's deathbed grace, sought his own closure, visiting the Brooklyn alley of his youth. Jamie beside. Graffiti bloomed where blood once stained. They left a plaque. Anonymous, from shadows to light. Hand in hand, they walked away. Ghost laid. A legacy project emerged, a youth center in Brooklyn, named after Alex's mother, Spaces for Art. Tech. Safe harbors. Groundbreaking drew crowds. Leo wielding the shovel. Jamie's design etched in stone. "For the kids we were," Alex spoke, voice carrying. Jamie's nod beside him. Years wove on. At 50, Alex keynote Davos on ethical capitalism. Jamie's artwork projected behind, their story visualized. Leo graduated, wedding a quiet artist in a vineyard ceremony. Alex walking him down the aisle, tears blurring. "You gave me this," Leo whispered. Grandkids came, twin girls, fierce and freckled, toddling through murals, calling them Papa Alex and Daddy Jam. Chaos reigned anew, crayon wars. Lullabies harmonized. Alex, once ruthless, now melted at sticky hugs. Jamie sketched their antics. Pages filling albums. One silver anniversary. Fire Island Beach at sunset. They renewed vows again, barefoot. Waves lapping. 20 years of betrayal's gift, Alex said. Rings sliding renewed. Heart over image. Always. Jamie pulled him down to sand. And every year, I'd choose you again, as stars wheeled. Their love, karmic, kinetic, endured. The CEO's throne was dust, but the empire of hearts, eternal. In quiet moments, Alex knew control was illusion. Love, the true power,